spent 10 years at Charlton Athletic as a goalkeeper. After being let go from there, my life literally, I'd say, like spiraled out of control.
So what was going through your mind when they let you go?
I seriously feel like a part of me died.
What was your relationship with food when the eating disorder started?
I genuinely felt like dead inside. I felt like I'd let my parents down and I'd let everybody down. But running kind of gave me that buzz. He said, "I think you've got anorexia." You're just completely in denial. At 21, that's when I was at my worst. That's obviously when I was 5.5 stone.
Wow, 6'4", 5.5 stone.
Yeah, yeah. I had a lump on my neck that was getting bigger and bigger. They thought it was cancer. On a honeymoon, obviously we had this chat about wanting kids. I was like, yeah, like, I'm happy to try. She dropped the bombshell. She's like, we have been trying. Let's just say that my wife met someone else, and I found out through a Instagram story.
What is your coaching approach with clients?
What I offer them, the easiest way to describe it, it's a hybrid between like an online PT and a life coach. So it sounds cliche, but it's like use your trauma to triumph. Instead of saying, what if it doesn't work? What if it does?
If somebody's listening to this pod that might be going through a bit of a tough time mentally, what would you advise them? James, how did you get into doing what you're currently doing, helping men become the best versions of themselves physically and mentally? Where did it all start for you?
It started really because I was at rock bottom myself. Obviously, it was mapped out for me at a young age that I was going to be a professional footballer. I spent 10 years at Charlton Athletic as a goalkeeper. And then after being let go from there, my life literally, I'd say, like spiraled out of control. I become obsessed with food and exercise. When I say obsessed with food, it was not eating. And I got into a routine of running. I'd never run in my life. I decided to run. I think I had this feeling of being a failure to my parents, to myself, to my friends at school. I was known as everyone's got the little cliques at school. I was just known as the footballer, and obviously that identity got taken away.
How old was you when you got scouted?
7.
Young.
Yeah, very young. Yeah, so it was obviously I played for like my local team. Obviously, my dad was a goalkeeper, and that's what got me into. I used to go and watch him.
Was he professional or?
He was semi-pro. But obviously, when I started to go and watch him, he was in his 40s, so he was playing like vets football. And obviously, him being a goalkeeper, it was just watching him like pull off saves and everyone like rushing around him. It was like, I want to be like that. I've always looked up to my dad, so it's just wanted to follow in his coattails. So he just started to coach me, and I played for the team that he played for, just as under 6s or whatever it was, and then just started from there, and then got scouted by like my county at like 6, and then it was when I was playing at a tournament. Obviously, they're all I think there was like Aston Villa, Man United, and obviously Charlton were there, and it was just obviously because I lived down in Kent, it was easier, the closest one. Just went along for a trial, signed, and that was the next like 10 years of my life.
So you were at Charlton until you were 16, 17?
Yeah, just before my 70th birthday.
So you were there for a decade. It's a long time.
Yeah, I was there for their greatest time. Obviously, when they got the old promotion, when they beat Man City at Wembley, I was there for that. And obviously just basically getting a free season ticket to go and watch your team play in the Premier League as well, which is, again, for like a young kid. And you're basically being told, this is me you. This is me you in a few years. So at 13, I got to train at England's training academy, which was like Bisham Abbey at the time. So like playing on the pitch next to like Alan Shearer and Michael Owen.
Wow.
And it was just like, I got goosebumps now actually. I peaked way too soon. And it was just obviously, when you're being, when you're a kid, you don't have, you're not arrogant. You just believe what you're being told. And when you're being told that like, you're going to make it. And every year your contract got renewed, and I was made captain, which is obviously rare for a goalkeeper. And then I can remember the day like it was yesterday, just everyone sitting in the clubhouse, and just one by one you were called into the room, and obviously my mates coming out and they sign their contracts, and it's like, so if I get called next, everyone's come out so far has been signed. And then I got called, and it was like, we don't think you're tall enough. And obviously I didn't start growing until I was 18.
I was going to say, because you're a tall guy.
Yeah,
How tall are you?
I'm like 6'4" now.
6'4".
Yeah, so I was I will get onto the reasons why I was a late developer in a bit, but obviously at the time, I think the only small goalkeeper that was around was like Shay Given, who played for Newcastle.
How tall was you?
Pretty good one though.
Yeah, it was very good. I was probably about 5'6", 5'7".
Oh wow.
So like when you're
Wow,
like,
so you grew a lot
yeah,
in the
crazy
from
amount.
18.
Yeah, it's like someone stuck me in like a pot of Miracle Grow.
Wow.
So yeah, but again, that was another thing that caused like trauma for me, because it was like, what if?
Yeah.
Again,
yeah,
obviously
yeah.
everyone can relate to that. What if only, like if only I'd have had that growth spurt earlier, like who knows?
When you walked into that room, did you have any doubt that you were or weren't going to make it, or did you think
No.
you were 100% going to get signed?
I thought I was going to get signed.
So what was going through your mind when they let you go?
Got to be a mistake. That was it. It was just like I hadn't like. Again, it wasn't arrogance. I think it was just confidence that was reinforced for the 10 years that I was there. And I think like I'd never really had any like setbacks as a kid. So it was just like everything I did, I won, and everything like it all paid off. It all went my way. So it was just why would that have changed? And obviously, it did. And it was just like I remember coming out, and it was just. I can't even remember what I think. I didn't process it. That was the easiest way. And obviously, that's what kick-started the battle with the eating disorder. Like I had no one in my family had it. It wasn't anything that was in the news at the time. Obviously, we're talking like 20 years ago now. So there wasn't. I don't know what made me do it. I think it was just that punishment. I think of like I felt numb. I went through. Like the final year at school, feeling like crap because I did crap in my A levels, so I ended up having to go to college to get enough points to go to uni, and then when I went to uni, obviously the eating disorder had already started by then, and I didn't even finish uni. I did like.
What was your relationship with food when the eating disorder started? Like, run me through a day of eating for you, and how did you feel towards food?
I think like growing up, I was always my mum is an amazing cook, so I was always fed like really well, and there was never any like fast food or whatnot. Like my treat, obviously, I used to train like 4 days a week. Like my treat on a Tuesday night on the way home was to get a McDonald's.
Yeah.
So I used to get like quarter pounder with cheese, and there was never. I had like balance. I think that was the easiest way. Like most of my food was clean, because I was being shaped to be an athlete, so it was always like nutrition was always important, and maybe it stemmed from there, the whole idea of like eating clean and not eating like too much like bad food, or however you like demonize it. I just think it was just this. I think it was the fact that I think the food thing at the start wasn't the most important thing. It was the running. The running gave me this like it's like the runner's high.
Addiction.
Yeah, and it gave me that rush that nothing else gave me. Like I genuinely felt like dead inside. I felt like I'd let my parents down and I'd let everybody down. But running kind of gave me that buzz. And obviously, like with anything, you do anything for good enough, you get better at it. And then so like I'd run for half an hour, and then it turned into an hour, then it turned into 2, then into 3, then into 4. And then I think it got to the point where I couldn't really run anymore. I kind of lost that rush because obviously my body was getting used to it.
Was you running like a marathon? Like 4 hours is like a marathon.
Yeah, I used to listen to the MP3 player that was like running with a brick back then. But I used to listen to the same playlist on repeat, and I knew it was about like an hour and 5 minutes long. And I used to make sure that I'd have to listen to it like 4 times through before I stopped running. So I never tracked
how far.
But I just knew that I was listening to it for.
It's like a good steady pace.
Yeah,
like 3.5 hours.
So,
is a marathon,
so definitely doing
Well, like every day.
Yeah,
Every day.
Obviously, because by that
You're
point,
breaking records.
David Goggins shit.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah, but it was breaking records, and I was like killing myself at the same time. But I think again, I replaced that. The rush went, and then the rush came back with the not eating. So it was like I was literally running on.
So you
nothing.
kept on running, doing the same amount of running every day,
Yeah.
but you just started reducing how much you're
Yeah,
eating.
yeah, to the point where I'd have dinner. That was what I'd have, and then in the dinner would have to be meticulously made by me, like weighing scales, and I'd have the same thing every night. It was like a tuna steak with pasta and broccoli. That was it. no sauce, no seasoning.
Would your parents watch you do this and be like, you need to eat more?
At the time, like my eating disorder was masked with the growth spurt that I had, so I naturally like leaned out and I got a lot taller. So like people say like kids have like puppy fat and then they get bigger and they're maybe a little bit wider and short. Obviously, I was never I was lean anyway, but I think the weight loss was masked by my increase in height. Obviously, I got very tall, very quick. So I think it was masked for a good probably 6 months to a year, and it was obviously after a year that's when my mum took me to the doctors, because I was obviously just like, yeah, obviously it was noticeable that I wasn't eating.
So how much did you weigh at that time when you went to the doctors?
Do you know what? I'm not even sure. Like I know they weighed me, and I know obviously they did the whole like BMI thing, which is I'm not a fan of BMI as a metric, but obviously I was massively underweight for my height, and that's when obviously my mum explained to the doctor that like what my routine was like, and obviously the trauma that I had, and that's when he said, "Oh, I think you've got anorexia," and it was like, what the hell was that? I thought it was like a disease. Obviously, like explain what it was, and again, you're just completely in denial. No, I haven't got that. It's only I just like running, and I'm just not hungry, just to feed them crap, just to get them off your back. Obviously, like I knew deep down, I didn't know that I had what it was, but I knew I had a problem. And then I think it was only like a few months after that I changed eating disorder. I changed it from anorexia to bulimia. So where I went from starving myself, eating as little as I could, to like rebelling against it and eating everything I wanted, and then
with
Yeah.
that, what was going through your mind when you thought about food? So I'm just trying to think, like, was it almost you self-harming because what you went through, or did you just not want to eat? Or did you want to eat and you just kind of didn't eat?
I think it was a combination of like punishing myself, and almost again like, because I seriously feel like a part of me died when I got let go, because I didn't know any other life. And obviously, it's one thing they said to me in the obviously when they let me go was like, go back to what you know. It was like, this is all I know. Like as a kid for 10 years, like training like 3 times a week and then a match on a weekend. Like my life was football. Everything about me, my whole identity was around football. So it's like, go back to what you know. Like I don't know anything else.
Were you trying to reach out to other places as well, trying to get in, or?
That's the thing. I didn't. I gave up.
Oh, really?
Like again, I wish there wasn't a lot of aftercare. They didn't. Again, we're talking, let's say, like 20 years ago. So there wasn't like feeder clubs. Like, it was not like, oh, we don't want you, but so and so could, or we could put you here. It was just like, off you go.
Yeah.
I guess I could have. I kind of fell out of love with it. I think because I felt like I wasn't good enough for them. I'm not good enough for anyone. So I think the emotional attachment that I had to being let go, again, I never spoke about it. I just like internalized it. And obviously that was my way of dealing with it, was to run and not eat.
Did growing taller make it worse? Because you thought, oh, I got let go because
I think,
I was
again,
5'7".
it was like for years it plagued me, because it was just that, again, it's like, what if?
Yeah.
Like that, what if I had that growth spurt? What if they kept me on? Or what if they just waited? What if it was different? And I think that's the worst thing to have, is regret. But it wasn't until many years down the line when I started to recover and I got into like the self-development and the mindset thing. Like, you can't control what you can't control. You can't control how tall you are.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, so it's almost like it's just one of them, you have to just, shit happens.
Loads of people must go through this though, like children, not just in football, in anything, like where they think they're going to be
all different sports.
They're going to be wherever it's going to be, go-karting, trampolining, gymnasts, and they run in wherever it may be, and then suddenly it just falls apart out of nowhere, and they don't know any different. You're like, you're a kid,
big time.
really.
Did you hear about the kiddie from Man City? Whole life thought he was going to play for Man City. He got dropped from the academy. Similar story to you, like 16. He took his own life.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did that.
The following day. It's so sad, because I guess when you grow up throughout your whole life being told you're going to be something, you never have any fear of failure. So do you feel like if a kid is going through an academy, Like, what can a parent do to maybe relieve potential future trauma?
Obviously this is one of the aspects of my business that I'm trying to get into now is like the youth academies, to be able to like share my story. But the sad reality is it's very difficult, because for a kid to make it, you're talking like it's like 0.01% of the kids that go through academies make it, and you have to be all in. You can't have like you can't dip your toe in. It's got to be all in. But then also it's like you got to be all in, but then you have to have a backup plan as well. It's like it's very hard to try and come up with things that are going to be able to help people have a backup. I think that's whereby I think academies have latched onto that now, because I think if you're struggling with your education, they'll let you go. So it's kind of like they make sure that you follow, at least you've got qualifications to fall back on. Does it make it any easier? No, but I guess at least if you've got qualifications in as a backup, I think that's kind of an important thing that's improved. In terms of like the education system involved with it. But
is there any aftercare now?
There is more aftercare, and obviously there's a lot more like feeder clubs involved, whereby you may not be at that level, but this level will have you. And obviously there's been countless people that make their breakthroughs like later on in their career just because they've just not given up, and they may have played at a lower level, like Jamie Vardy.
I was thinking the same thing straight away.
Like that's a big one. And so I think there is more support, but it's just one of them. It's like with politics. Like, how do you fix the system? Like, everyone's got an answer. It's very hard to try and implement.
Someone like you'd be perfect, like to go in and just coach afterwards.
I think that would be my dream job, because obviously the ones that the clubs that I have spoken at, it's essentially it's don't do what I did. That's pretty much like, don't live the life that I did. Don't burden yourself, and don't bottle it up, because it will eat you alive, and it will come out in any form of addiction, whether that be drink, drugs. Obviously with me it was food, and I'm lucky that I'm still here. I could have, there was like 2 occasions where in theory I should have died, so I shouldn't.
Due to what? Just
multi-organ failure,
body just shutting down.
So
was that due to a lack of nutrients?
Yeah. Obviously at 21, that's when I was at my worst. That's obviously when I was 5.5 stone.
Wow, 6'4", 5.5 stone.
Yeah. So like my BMI was a joke. Again, that was the only metric that they measured. It wasn't even weight. You wasn't even told what your weight was. It was just your BMI. And obviously I was like passing out at home. So if I was sitting down in a chair, if I got up too quick, I'd pass out. If I got up in the middle of the night to go to the toilet, I'd pass out. If I got up, if I sat down on the toilet, went for a wee, got up quick.
And then was it like your parents or people around you that made you like sort of snap out of that and get help, or was it yourself?
No, what happened was I passed out in front of my parents in the kitchen, and obviously that's when they called for an ambulance, and that's when I woke up in hospital, and that's when I was told that I either had to willingly go into an eating disorder unit, or they were going to section me under the Mental Health Act. So it's kind of like, don't really have a choice. I don't really want to go in. In my head, I'm thinking like, I don't want to turn up in a straitjacket. Again, just like what you think at the time. So at 22, I just turned 22, and that's when I went in. I was in an eating disorder unit for 6 weeks, where I basically learned how to eat again, which is again it caused shame for me, because obviously I was too ill to work. I spent the whole time just on my phone, so I was like scrolling through Facebook, looking at all my friends that I was at school with that were all living their life at uni, like scattered around the country, and there's like me learning to have breakfast again. It's just like, how on earth has this happened to me? Like, in the space of 5 years, I've gone from being the it guy to nothing. That was just obviously difficult. I think in terms of like my self-worth and my confidence was like horrendous. I had like proper, anxiety, social anxiety. I didn't want anyone to see me. Like when I did go out, if I had to do shopping or went out with my parents, I'd wear like 20 layers, because I wouldn't want people to see how bad I was or how ill I looked. And then when you see photos back, I'm like wearing all these layers and big like puffer coat, and I've got like face is like gaunt, and like I made it look even worse. So, but it's just you try and cover up. 'Cause I hated who I was. Couldn't look at myself in the mirror. I just hated what I become.
It's such a interesting, complex disorder because you're not eating, but then you hate how skinny you look as well.
Yeah.
So did you ever have a moment during that period where you were like, I want to put on weight, or were you just not thinking clear enough to?
I think when I came out of the eating disorder unit, I think for 6 months, again, what I was eating in comparison to like now is like, it was so small what I used to eat in a day, but because it was way more than what I was eating, I was eating something. I think that's when you start to eat more, and a kind of like your cognitive function comes back in, and I think that's where it's like negative rose tinted glasses. Like I had body dysmorphia, so I'd look in the mirror, and someone would see me and be like, "You look awful. Like you're so underweight," and I'd look at myself and be like, "I look fat." I wouldn't see what everybody else saw. It's just it's so warped. And obviously that's where like eating disorders they're I know they're a lot more prevalent in men now, but they're obviously for years they've just been associated as a woman's problem. And I had that the first therapy session I had in the eating disorder unit was a male therapist was like, "Oh, you're the first guy I've ever dealt with. This is a woman's thing."
Oh, I didn't know.
Like the worst thing that could be. So the first thing I did when I went home that night was have a massive binge, because it was just like, what am I, a woman then? Like, so am I not a man? Like, just again,
At least get the sack.
yeah, clear. It's just
Definitely not.
Yeah, not
a
really,
good therapist.
No, not great. But again, I think that's what caused that severe like social anxiety with like, why me? Like, what is it about me? Like, I'm not a man then. I look like a boy. I should look like a man, but I'm not a man because I've got a woman's problem. Just like that idea was just, again, that stuck with me for ages. But I think starting to eat more, you kind of the road how I saw myself. I started to see myself how everybody else saw me. That's the easiest way to put it. I think once you start to eat little and often, it was just like, oh my God, I look horrendous.
You kind of wake up.
Yeah, and I think that's whereby it's like I have to try and do something. And don't get me wrong, I still struggled with it for 3.5 years after that. But I think that was the catalyst to change. I think to be able to see myself how everybody else saw me, and it was like, I don't want this anymore. And obviously a lot of people have asked me like, what was the change? What was that trigger in your head? And it sounds really flippant, but it was boredom. I was so bored I was nocturnal. I used to sleep during the day, and then I'd wait for my parents to go to bed, and I'd binge at night. So I was literally like a badger, literally just living in my hole and then coming out at night when everyone else is asleep. So it's such a secretive thing, having an eating disorder, especially when you're bulimic. You don't want anyone to see you eating food or making yourself sick. So you do it after hours.
How long did the bulimia go on for?
8.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so what is it? You eat a lot, but you just keep making yourself throw up as soon as you eat?
Yeah. And obviously that's whereby I think for so long, especially for like the 18 months that I obviously had anorexia, like I demonise all these foods. So like your crisps, your chips, pizzas, burgers, what I'd class as not healthy food, that's all the foods that I'd binge on. Because I'd had it in my head that, like what you tell a kid, don't touch that. So all they want to do is touch it. So it's like, because I'd had, these are bad foods, it's almost like I could have them and I don't have to keep the food down. So I'm winning. And that's obviously how I've got, I don't necessarily have it now. I don't know, actually. I probably do. It's probably transitioned into work and gym. But I have like an obsessive personality. So obviously with me, it was football. And then obviously when that went, I had to fill it with something else. And that was food, running, making myself sick. So I'm that competitive. I almost had it in my head that if I'm going to have an eating disorder, I want to be the best person. I want to be the best person with an eating disorder. And I think that's where, if you have an addictive personality, I think if you can channel it in a productive way, you can fucking fly. You can become so successful. Like, is it healthy? No, but at least you're channeling it in a way that is productive to your life and the people around you.
100%. I think a lot of entrepreneurs do have similar traits.
Yeah.
I have a very all or nothing addictive personality as well.
Yep.
used to be addicted to partying, and now it's more so fitness, self-development, but I've had to train myself to get to that level. With this pivotal moment for you, with especially the bulimia, were you going through this with anyone? Like, was there a community? Did you maybe have a friend who had a similar disorder and you talk about it, or were you always facing it alone?
It was me and my mum. It was my parents, really. Obviously, my mum and dad took like a good cop, bad cop approach. My mum hated me, and my dad was just like, whatever help you need, I'll give it to you. So obviously, I see back then there wasn't the resources that are there now. So after coming out of the eating disorder unit, I was kind of left to my own devices. There wasn't really any follow up. So I think my dad was looking at remortgaging the house to send me to the Priory.
What's that?
Like a big rehab place that some of the famous people go to. That's like addictions and if you're like alcohol.
He understood
drugs.
it then, your dad. Like
yeah,
your
yeah.
dad kind of was.
Yeah, but I said my even when I was in the eating disorder unit, like his mum was in intensive care in London. Like she had to have an operation because she had an aneurysm, and she got given like a 20% chance to live. She managed to get through the operation, but he was basically driving to London to see his mum and then coming back to see me, and then when he came home, he was learning CBT, like cognitive behavioural therapy, because as I said, his blood pressure and his stress levels were like through the roof. So he was doing all that, running a business and trying to keep his mum and me alive, and then learning how to deal with it all himself. Like, he's a fucking hero for all that. So obviously it was because of, it was him really. So I saw hypnotists in my time, trying to rewire my brain. But the biggest help I had was going to see a sports psychologist. So she's someone that worked for England cricket team and Gillingham Football Club. So it's like the fact he had like a football background, like straight away. Obviously, that therapist in the eating disorder unit, I gave up on him like straight away. Like, you lose yourself if you don't build rapport with someone. Like, you've lost me. Like that statement. No. Obviously, this guy was like, oh, he's football. He's like a sports psychologist. All right, I'll listen to you. And he was the biggest help for me, I think, in terms of any resources that I had. He very much, instead of trying to tap into the exact root cause of when it started, why it started, it was like, do you want it? Do you want to live this life? Like, no. What do you want then? It's like, to get back into work and to be happy. It's like, well, let's do that. How can we build your life now to get you back into work? And it was just like, it was just like that approach. For years, it was just like trying to, how do you feel? Why did it start? Was there any issues as a kid? Was there any like abuse? It's like, no, like, stop trying to go back to like open up Pandora's box.
Trying to pinpoint onto something.
Yeah, no, his approach was like, if you found out the exact moment in time that it all started, would it make any difference to you? No.
We had a therapist on that said like literally the same thing. He just focuses. He doesn't do anything about your childhood and where it started. He said like people start jibbing jabbering. He just goes, listen, I'm not listening. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This isn't how I do things.
And I think obviously like women are a lot more emotional. That's just how they're nature. But men are far more like action based. And obviously I think it just resonated with me. It's like, I don't want this anymore. And the fact that I've got someone saying, do you want it? What do you want? And it's like to come up with a plan going forward. It was just like, oh, okay. So that's it. He managed to help me get back into work. And then obviously I worked as a business development manager for a double glazing company for like 18 months. Didn't take a day off. And then my boss told me to take a week off. And that's when I went up to Sheffield, because my brother lives up there. And then that's sort of how I found that job. So on the week's holiday that he gave me, I ended up coming back saying, I think I've got another job. So
After you've been there for 8 months in a row.
It's like, Christ.
He's like, take some time off, you deserve it.
Yeah, see you later.
Did you do well at the double glazing company?
I enjoyed it. Actually, my background had always...
Was that like door-to-door sales?
No, it was obviously just expanding like the commercial side. So it was obviously going to like networking events and just trying to get like commercial partnerships and whatnot. So I enjoyed it. Most of my background has always been in some form of sales. So it was decent. And obviously then when I went up to Sheffield, I then got offered a job as a construction buyer for a project management company. So it was like doubled my wages, and obviously living in Sheffield, it's like half the living cost.
Yeah.
It's like fucking won the lottery here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really want to move, but I can't not. And obviously that's when I had that like time to myself. It's almost like this is kind of like a sink or swim moment now, like 27. Like,
Do you still have bulimia at this point?
yes. It wasn't, it was kind of like, the easiest way to put it was like, you know, you've got someone that used to smoke 50 a day that now only smokes like 10 a day.
Is it like always there, but you know how to deal with it? Like I know people with anxiety, for example, would say it's always there somewhat in the background. They just know how to handle it and not let it get to them. Or do you feel like it's something you completely get over?
It's probably a bit, it sounds a bit like I'm sitting on the fence. It's probably a bit of both. Like I am over it, but I think at times when I've had like if I feel like I've overeaten, I would say to my, if I was with my parents or like my partner now, it'd be like, this would have been a time that would have caused me to like a head fuck. Whereas obviously like now I've got that awareness of like, if you overeat for a day, nothing's going to change. Like nothing changes. Like, did you enjoy that food? Or clearly I did, because I've eaten more than what I would normally eat. But I've got this like the realization of it's not going to change bugger all. So I think it is there, but it's not an issue. But I think like you said, do you ever get over it? I can't really answer that. I just know that I cope a lot better. So yeah.
How did you find the gym? Walk us through that.
I found that after obviously the job that I had when I moved up to Sheffield. I got made redundant after 6 months, and I didn't really know what to do. I'd recovered mentally from the eating disorder by then. Like I'd come out of the bulimic cycle. I wasn't eating a lot, but everything I was eating I was keeping down.
You running still?
No, I didn't actually do it. I wasn't doing anything then. I think I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Like again, my dad was like, come back down south. Like I'll pay the rent for the next 6 months if you don't want to stay up in Sheffield. Again, he's thinking he's got a lot of time on his hands. Like boredom's a killer. Which obviously that was one of my triggers that I identified. If I had nothing to do, that's when I couldn't sit on my own in a room without food, like being the main thought in my head. Like no one's around, you've got enough time to have a binge, no one would know. So I think obviously I was aware. I told everybody this. But the more people that I told, the more people are aware of how I am and like checking on me, I guess. So my dad was like, "I'll pay for you to come back down." I was like, "No, I've got 6 months left. Let's see what I can do." And I then booked a holiday. I went to Sharm el Sheikh for a week on my own, which again was a big thing for me, like going away on holiday on my own. But I think I'd kind of built up a little bit of self-confidence. I was proud of the fact that I was coping on my own. And then when I came back, I then went on Plenty of Fish. I was like, let's dip my toe in the dating pond again. We're talking 11 or 12 years of being on my own. No dates, no interaction. And obviously I'd laughed and joked about this on another podcast where I had nothing was going on downstairs for about 10 years, like nothing at all. So
Not even like a wank.
Nope. not even an erection. Nothing.
Wow.
That's mad.
Again, because I think my body was
your
in
body's shutting down.
Yeah. And obviously that's whether there is such a thing as like starvation mode. I think my body was just in like crisis. It doesn't need that, so let's shut that down so we can put it
Do you think it was maybe like a lack of as well testosterone from where you didn't have the right nutrients?
I think it's just a number, like a plethora of different things. Again, I hated myself, so the last thing I want to do is start talking to someone. Like no one, I wouldn't even get changed. I wouldn't get changed. I think if I put a top on, I'd have like door shut and like thing behind the door so no one could walk in on me. Obviously, like living with my parents, obviously they're not just going to walk in on me, but I couldn't look at myself in the mirror, so there's no way I'd get naked in front of anybody else. So, I think that was a reason. Again, I think because I'd kind of started to I wouldn't say I love myself. I'd started to like myself again. I just wanted to see pushing the boundaries, and the first girl I matched with just latched onto that because she started to message me all the time, and then I just went all in on that. So for the next year. I literally saw her every day. And then after 6 months, she was like, obviously my apartment came up for renewal. And she was like, do you want to move in with me? I was like, yeah, let's try it. And then after that, after like the next 6 months of living with her, I got another job. I was working in the middle of Sheffield in the centre, going to work, and she just sent me a message, WhatsApp. I'm going to stay at my dad's tonight. I want you to move out. I don't love you anymore.
Oh, by message
That's
as
it.
well. That's cold.
That's it. And then I had to go into work. Imagine that on your head. You're trying to make like sales calls. You just got like, oh, what the hell am I going to do? So I stayed in a hotel for a week, and then I moved in with my brother. And it was while I was living with my brother and my sister-in-law, it was like trying to do a deep dive into why. Like we never argued. I did not see this coming, and so I just come to my own conclusion that it was how I looked. I didn't look like a man. It was like she was the protector. Like if anything ever happened, not that we went out a lot, but if we ever went out, if anything ever happened, like trouble, she'd have to step in and protect me. And I know you get people say it's like misogynistic, but you have to be deemed, you're able to look after yourself and your partner. And there's no way I'd have done that. So I was like, how do I get bigger? I'll go to the gym. That's it. It was my idea. If I go to the gym and I get a little bit bigger, she'll want me back and everything will be all right. And then that's when I caught the gym bug.
A sick way to channel
it. Yeah, it was. I think again that was a big reframe in my head that for years, anything that went wrong, I'd relapse into the eating disorder. I'd use that as any excuse to go back to my old ways. And that's when I realised, like, shit, I'm actually over this because I'm actually doing something. I'm using something negative and I'm having a positive out of it. And again, the addictive personality crept in. And then I decided I was watching a lot of like David Goggins that we were talking about. I went on the self-development journey without even knowing what I was doing. And that's when I was like, if I'm gonna start this, I need to have a start point, and then I'll track my journey along the way. So I started to video my workouts and put them on Instagram. And then in 18 months, I went from 9.5 stone to 15 stone. And obviously tracked that journey along the way. And that's when like Instagram blew up. And then I just came into a whole world of weird stuff of like modelling, acting, doing extra work, and then obviously all in the back of that was people going, "Oh, sick transformation! Like, how'd you do it? Train me." It was like light bulb moment. Like I didn't know what the hell I was doing. All I was just consistent. I made consistently like crap form at the start, but I was consistent with it. And obviously I was so underweight when I started that you say, do you put on like 5 stone in 18 months? It's like, yeah, because I was so underweight, like 6'4", 9.5 stone. All I did was just fill out my frame. That's pretty much all like what I did.
Was you eating clean? Like, were you super strict with your food?
Yeah,
still?
Yeah, I was still ridiculously clean.
You're quite addictive personality to like learning as well.
I think
So like getting the knowledge, the education around things like the gym, the nutrition.
Yeah, I think I have to do it first, and if I like it, then I'm like all in on it. Like you said about the all in, or I'm all in or I'm all out. I think the fact that I liked the gym and I weirdly liked the pain. I think it went back to earlier about the like pushing my. If your body's in pain, you know you're working. Yeah. And then it's like and then to see the change in my body, and then other people notice it. I'll be the first to admit, I went through like an ego stage in the gym, like chasing likes, and the followers I got, I was like, I'm the shit. And I think, the way that I never had it, so to then get it all of a sudden, I was like, I fucking love this. This is like, it's so addictive.
It's like a dopamine rush, isn't it?
It is. And then like I committed to Instagram. It was like my job. Like I just every day was, what was it? Like the Motivation Monday, Transformation Tuesday, Workout Wednesday, Throwback Thursday, Foodie Friday. That's what I did. I literally lived for like my followers. And then it wasn't until, again, I did a lot of like commercial work for Adidas, and I got to meet some like crazy footballers. I'm just thinking like, how on earth have I got here? And then I got qualified as a PT in February 2019, and then I was going to do a bodybuilding, or not bodybuilding, like an aesthetic show to push myself again. And that's when I noticed I had a lump on my neck that was getting bigger and bigger. And then I went to the doctors. Doctors didn't like it. Went to the hospital. they booked me in for like a biopsy, and then I was referred to like oncology. So like they thought it was cancer, and I was thinking like, no way, there's no way it could be that. And then they had like biopsy and all kinds of scans, and then they thought it was, so they had an operation to remove it. I think that took me out of action until I think December of that year, and then at the end of the year, the end of December was when I broke my left leg playing football, and then that kick-started the leg breaks. So December 2019, broke my left leg playing football. February 2020, broke my right leg in 4 places. Got my second game back.
Oh, football again.
Yeah, football game, and then obviously that took. I got let out of hospital just before we went into lockdown. And then I came out the cast in September. Got told I was clinically healed, and then just in time for the season to start again. First game of the season, snap.
What?
So it was 3 leg breaks in 8 months. And yeah, that's when obviously I'd met my partner.
Goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're just charging at everyone as
The-
they coming to you,
the
innit?
first two was so if I call for it, I'm going to take everybody out no matter what. But yeah, the third one, it was never healed, despite I got letters to say it was clinically healed. I planted my foot to take a cross. It was like really boggy conditions. Got my studs caught in the ground, and I just literally the bone just separated.
Oh, mate.
So yeah, it was the first. It was that's funny. Obviously, I started seeing my partner back in January. So she'd only known me with like a gangster limp. I was just walking around like I had this weird limp. And it was the first game she ever come to watch me play. And like 5 minutes into the second half, just break my leg again. So yeah, that caused a whole load of crap. She didn't want me to play football again. So I ended up getting insurance. So if it happens again, I'm right. I've got cover now. And I think obviously that whole leg break situation was obviously during lockdown. Then we were allowed out of lockdown. Then we went back in, and I didn't do anything on my leg or physically until I think May 2021.
Were you still training your upper body when you had the breaks?
The first two I was. After the third leg break, I didn't do anything. I kind of just for 6 months I didn't do any exercise, and that was a massive. It was a good head fuck and a bad one at the same time, because it was like I realised my body changed massively, but then I also realised that like the world doesn't end. I was thinking about if I don't train, it's like Armageddon, something's going to happen. So I think it was the kind of realisation of like the world doesn't end. All right, I don't look as good as I did. Obviously, I have high expectations of myself, but it kind of relented something in my head that you can actually have a little bit of downtime. That also coupled with Instagram, I didn't fall out of love with Instagram, but I realised what it actually does. Nothing. Like, it's good to have as a bit of a flex, but the followers don't mean anything. Obviously, at the time, I was transitioning into being like an in-house PT to an online PT, so it's good to have the presence. But I lost about 20,000 followers during lockdown because I didn't post, and I was just like, you don't add any. I was so addicted to serving these people, and at the moment I didn't serve them, they just buggered off. So
Shallow,
like,
isn't it? I read something so crazy the other day about social media. So people might post like that before and after pictures, and then you get loads of likes, or you might post up a picture of a new watch or new car and oh my God, that's amazing. But what a psychologist said is they're not showing you respect. They're just imagining themselves having that thing, which is where the likes come from. So it's all very selfish based.
Yeah, and I think it was a good lesson to learn. I think I kind of realised that in terms of like the changing of my content, I kind of stopped being like insta hoary and actually making it more valuable to people. And that's obviously when after lockdown I had quite a lot of my friends talk to me about how difficult they found it in regards to like it's the first time in their life that actually they couldn't escape from whatever was going on in their head. They couldn't go and have one night stands and do a whole load of they could drink and take drugs, but doing it on your own doesn't really have the same when you're doing it with your mates in a social environment. So for the first time, I actually had to sit with their feelings in their head and process it. And again, it was like a sink or swim. Some people loved it and some people hated it. And that's kind of when I kind of realised I needed to change who I was as a person. I needed to make more money because I didn't work for 18 months and I was massively in debt. And it was like, everyone seemed to become an online coach during lockdown, if you realise that. Like, you couldn't work, you couldn't go out, but suddenly everyone was an online coach. So it was like, how am I going to differentiate myself in a massively like saturated market? And it was like, I use the skills that I've got. There's not many guys that have had an eating disorder. And obviously I kind of decided to go down the like mental health route, talking about like my story and what I learned and how you can, whatever issues that you've got, they don't define who you are. As long as you've got like structure in place and a positive outlook, you can like rewrite your script. It's just a chapter in your life. And obviously that's what led me pretty much up to November last year or December last year. So that was serving me like really well to a point. Obviously got like some notoriety with it. Obviously was doing the podcasts, and like last year it should have been the happiest year of my life on paper. I like married my partner, and we were kind of like my wedding day I was an absolute wreck, because all I had in my head was me back at 21, 22, 23, 24, where I hated myself, and the idea of actually being able to share my life with someone and someone actually wanting me, like I was just very emotional, I think. And for my parents to see me get married as well, my dad was upset, but like proud, obviously, all at the same time. So it's kind of this big like life moment, isn't it? Like you kind of feel that that's it now. Like, there's no higher level you can have with someone than being married. Obviously, like honeymoon and feeling like the it couple. While we're on honeymoon, we said about talking about having kids. And prior to meeting her, I never wanted kids. I think because of that period in my life for 10 years where I did nothing, the idea of having kids, like I could barely look after myself. So the idea of bringing a little me into the world when I was only just like learning who I was, it never really entered my head until I met her. She kind of like changed that thing in my head. So when we got back off a honeymoon, we decided to get tested to make sure that we was all right.
Were you trying prior to the test?
That was the thing. Like on a honeymoon, obviously we had this chat about wanting kids. I was like, yeah, like, I'm happy to try. She dropped the bombshell. She's like, we have been trying. I was like, have we? She's like, yeah, I've not been on anything for about 18 months.
Oh, she didn't tell you that.
Oh, it was. So she was just.
That's a little bit crazy.
Again, that's the one thing that people picked up on. They were like, she should have told you. I was like, yeah, but I was already at the point in like without having that conversation, it wouldn't have bothered me. I'd have been happy. But that kind of started to ring a bit of alarm bells because I'm thinking like, it's me or her. I was like, she was married before me and she's already got a daughter, so I'm like, the likelihood is potentially me. So we got checked. Like her results came, she got a text message back saying, yeah, you're all fine. I didn't get a text message, I got a phone call. Like, you need to come to the doctors. Like, we want to discuss your results. And I'd not been to the doctors for years, so I was just like, oh, it's fine. She's like, they found something. I was like, oh, okay. Like, my brother struggled. They went through like one round of IVF, so I was like, all right, there's always options. Like, whatever, if there is something wrong, it can be fixed. And then she was like, she wanted to come with me. And I was like, I need to do this on my own. Like, whatever the issue is, I've got half an hour to process it before driving home to tell you. I didn't want her to come in with me, and she didn't like that. She got the results that there was no sperm in my sample. I was like, what does that mean? They're like, it could either be an anomaly, so we'd have to do another one. But if it comes back the same, it's highly likely that you're infertile. I was like, okay, what does that mean? I was like, can I go IVF? They're like, not if there's no sperm. It's like, all right, what's the chances of it being an anomaly? They're like, the test's like 98% accurate. It's like, I'm screwed then. So go home to tell her, and it was, how can I put this? I got blamed. How could you do this to me? I think that was that was the catalyst to our marriage breaking down. So fast forward to the start of the year, this year, obviously I came down to my parents to get therapy, to speak, to just to unpack all the crap in my head. Like, to me, not to make, I don't know, there's no like pity party, but I think when you get married, I think the barring having a terminal illness, it's probably the worst thing you can hear as a bloke, that you can't have a kid, because everyone wants a little mini me. And I'd only just got my head around the idea of actually wanting one. And like the idea of having like a son that I could kind of encouragingly push towards football, to live that life that I couldn't live. I would be one of them dads, 100%. That would have been like screaming on the sideline, like proper pushy parent. To have that news, it was like, yeah, gut wrenching. But then with everything that was happening with my marriage, I don't think I gave it enough time to deal with it, because I was almost like in survival mode trying to save my marriage. So I came down and had therapy to unpack all the stuff for like with a therapist about how I was feeling and how I can go again moving forward. And then I was only supposed to be down for a month. A month turned into 2 and into 3, and then let's just say that my wife met someone else, and I found out through a Instagram story
While she was down here.
while she was obviously at the marital home in Huddersfield.
Yeah, while she was still down here.
While I was down, while I was down.
You saw the story.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, what was the story?
She was on a date, so he'd obviously shared the date that they were doing, axe throwing.
Fuck.
It was so cringy. It was cringy. And I literally, I think that weekend I'd taken my dad to Cheltenham races. So we'd got back home, and we'd had dinner, and I made a cup of tea. Walking back to the sofa, obviously I had I don't know if you have it, I had like notifications up. So if she ever made a post or added to a story, I just got a little ping, like so and so's added to a story.
Yeah.
Clicked on it. I just dropped the tea on the floor, smashed everywhere, and I literally fell out of my arse. It was like that realization of like, wow, like, and it all made sense. Her behaviour from November to now, you almost like backtrack. It all makes sense now. It's like she's pushing me away to go and have therapy, move me away like 300 miles away so she could pursue other avenues. Yeah, it was kind of like that. Well, that's done. Like there's no coming back from that. That's the one thing with me. It's almost like that trust. If you have an affair, even if like you cheat on me in a normal relationship, it's done. Like there's not, if you screw up or you tell me a little white lie, you can get over that stuff. But not if you're unfaithful. Like, to me, that's everything. To me, that's what I class love as. Love is like you give someone else your heart, and you trust that they don't smash it. And she did. So
on your previous breakup, you channeled your energy into the gym. Have you channeled your energy this time into something positive? Yeah,
for the first few months, I was an exercise freak. I set myself a stupid task. I always have like my non-negotiable is like 10,000 steps a day. I doubled that, and then I wanted to go to the gym like twice a day. So like my way of trying to forget, because that's all it was. I was just trying to distract myself from what do I do next? Because I went down thinking that I'm going to have therapy, come back up, I'll be able to process things better, I'll be a better man, therefore I'll be a better husband, and we'll just work it out. And it's like at 30, what I've been 30, 35 at the time, living down at my parents with nowhere to go. Like I don't want to live at I love my parents to bits, but what 35-year-old wants to live at the parents again after you've been away for 9 years? And then it's like, well, I can't go back to her. I can't stay down at my parents. Where do I go? I kind of felt like for the first time in my life, I actually felt in limbo of where to go. And that's when it was like doing that deep dive into my life. Where was I last happiest? Sheffield was the place that kick-started my whole transformation. So I was like, I'll just go back there. And then that coincided with me obviously relaunching my business. So obviously one of the things that we were talking about is about, I used to be known as James, the mental health PT. And the one thing that was always a negative in the business was I never got. People were always reluctant to do me like video transformations, testimonials, and give me referrals. So it's like I kind of spoke to quite a few of my old clients, and two of them said the exact same thing, as that the first time they mentioned about they were working with a mental health PT, the comment was, "Why? What's wrong with you?" And it was just like this light bulb moment. And I'd been thinking about it, and I discussed it with a few people when I went to like Dubai in May. Was about, is the business serving me? Is it helping me get to where I want to get to? And the reality was like, no. It helped me get to here, but I at least want to be up here. So like, I need to start doing something different.
Just pivoting your business and just changing it.
Exactly that. And it's almost like looking at, I relaunched as the ultimate body and mind. It was kind of like it sounds a bit bitter, but it was like James Mental Health PT I built when I was with her, when I was in a different area. So I've like changed city. It's almost like complete clean slate, new city, new focus, new business, new rebrand, and everything's fresh.
Because you've got so much to offer, like for all the trauma and shit that you've been through.
Yeah,
like,
and I think
you can help so many people.
And I think that's literally what it is. It's like all I try and do now is use like it's never like a swing and dick competition. Like I don't need sympathy. It's helping my clients show that like you can go through crap and you can still come out of it a better person. And whether that's using your trauma to, it sounds cliche, but it's like use your trauma to triumph. It's about like reshaping like your mindset and thinking like, this isn't happening to me, it's happening for me. There are reasons why everything happens. I'm not a religious person, I've never been, but I think it's like the universe. There's too many things that happen. It can't be a coincidence. Like the reason why things seemingly happen to you that are bad is because what you're doing at the minute isn't serving you. You're meant to be doing something else. And I think that's the best way to reframe any trauma that happens to you.
What is your like coaching approach with clients? What do you kind of offer them?
What I offer them, the easiest way to describe it, it's a hybrid between like an online PT and a life coach. So like I have four main pillars. So I look at your mindset, your training, your nutrition, and then it's like your lifestyle. So it's about addressing all them areas. So it's firstly understanding like why they want to use me, like where are they at in life, who do they want to become. Then the next thing obviously is helping them take action. And I think the easiest way to do that is to begin like an exercise program. Like with me, I'm never like because I do it, you have to do it. There's many studies that show that like weight training, being in the gym, has multiple benefits. But some of my clients hate the gym. They've tried it, they don't like it, but they like playing rugby, they like playing football, they like going swimming. So I'll program them their exercise program based on what they like to do. It's like if you give them something they're not going to do, if you give them something that they don't like doing, they're going to bugger it off within a month. Then the detrimental effect of that is I fouled. And it's like, well, you haven't really fouled, you just don't like what you're doing. So you're gonna have that little rush of motivation, and it's gonna like wane over time. But if you like doing rugby, you can still program it, you can still make it harder, like in terms of training and swimming, and you can still progressively overload in whatever sport you want to do. And I think being able to have a routine that's serving you from a physical point of view, that to me is the catalyst to improving your self-confidence, your self-worth. You build trust within yourself, and that's when it starts to snowball into other areas. So it's like, if I build up my physical program and I start to like how I look and like how I feel, then I'm going to want to push it more. So maybe I'll look at my nutrition, and then you increase even more, and then you want to look at it from a work point of view. So it may well be that you do a dead end job that you absolutely hate, but you've always had an idea to have that side hustle. So it's like, what's stopping you now? Now you've got that momentum going from the nutrition and the training, then how can you build that side hustle into like your new career? And it's obviously about helping them, basically like building belief within themselves, like trying to shatter the limiting beliefs that they have. And again, that could be based on trauma, that could be based on their social circle, that could be based on social media. It's a number of different things that you work with my clients with. And it's basically giving them a reframe from what they've always thought. and like the way that they speak to me is almost like, yeah, but what if it doesn't work? What if we try this and it doesn't work? It's like, what have you tried up to now? Why are you talking to me now? Because everything you have tried hasn't worked. So why don't you try this? Because this could be the one thing, instead of saying, what if it doesn't work? What if it does? What if the idea that you've been sitting dormant in your head because you're working your 9 to 5 that you now hate, what if that completely changes your life in a year? You don't know. If you don't try, you don't know.
Who better to do it than someone who's worked himself from the ground up as well?
I think that's where it's not about. It's good to kind of use the examples that I've been through. I think that's where I think I've kind of got that empathy, and I've got the showcase of it. You can have a look on like the socials. It's not like I'm not like a someone that's saying like eat that, lift that. It's like the understanding behind it as well. Like, because I've literally been in that position with you. I've been in the.
It's mad to think like you were 5 stone and now absolutely in it.
Yeah. So,
how much do you weigh now?
Almost like dead on 16.
16.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've 3x.
Yeah.
3x your weight.
Yeah. So
it's multiplied
again, but we're talking like next year is the 10th year of like my rebirth or whatever. So next year I had my eating disorder as long as I've been recovered. So you can look at me now, but it's like it's taken 10 years of working out minimum 4 times a week. So it's like people go, fuck that. It's like, well, you say that you want to look like me, or how are you that strong? Because of that. Like, it's not, you get these PTs that like, I'll get you a 6-pack in a week. Like, yeah, good luck. Like, I'm just honest. Like, in terms of like managing expectation. Like, if you want to change your life, it ain't going to change in 3 months. Like, not if you've been doing whatever you've been doing for like 10, 20 years. It's going to take longer than that. But what you're going to learn, you're never going to need anybody else again. It's like that. You learn. It's not just lift that, eat that. You're learning why.
I feel like if you get it quickly as well, like if you can get something as quickly as that, then you can probably lose it as quickly as that. Whereas if you take a long time to get to wherever you want to be, then it will take way longer to lose it. Really.
Yeah, I think it's you value it, isn't it?
Yeah.
As well? It's like the effort you're investing. Although you obviously you're paying me, but you're paying me to invest in you, and you're investing in you as well. I just think it's something a little bit more than just an online coach. I think it's just there's a bit more to it than that, and I think that's where I think that what I've got is a little bit unique. I think that's to try and differentiate yourself in the fitness industry. I think I've finally found something that I think from when I did the mental health stuff, I think even in my own head there was a little bit of a stigma to it. But when I went to like networking events and talking to people that don't know what I do, it was kind of like, how are they going to take this? Whereas like since I've come up with this, like I'm so aligned. It's like the idea of this business was if I was me 5 years ago and I saw this now, I'd sign up to it.
Are you doing anything differently to when you were doing it before, or is it just literally the
brand
rebrand?
Yeah, I think it's just the rebrand, and it's just like the message. The message is different. I said a lot of the things are the same, but I think it's just the approach is different. Obviously, my target market has changed.
What is your target market now?
It's really like it's probably guys from 30 to well, based on my oldest client, probably like late 50s.
Okay.
So it's
older, slightly older.
Yeah, and I think this time around I've gone from solely focusing on Instagram. I now use like LinkedIn and stuff as well, because I think like my target demographic ideally are busy guys that are probably like successful in their career, but as a consequence to that, they may have trained in the past, their business is flied, has like soared, and they probably have kind of fallen out of love with themselves because they've been so busy building their business, probably starting their family.
So many people like that as well.
Exactly that. And it's just like there is enough time in people's schedules to be able to make a difference. I think they just become so conditioned and routine to be focused all in on their work that the longevity part of it, it's like if you build a business that's amazing, but you end up like falling out of, like your health goes to crap. what's the point?
Exactly.
Like, you want to be able to like reap the benefits of it for as long as possible.
Do you have a team of people helping you now, or is it just yourself?
I have got like social media people, but it's just me. For anyone that works for me, it's me. So it's like all the plans and stuff, all the check-ins and everything it's all me.
How long are you working with clients for? Like, well, how long is the program?
At the minute, I said my program. It's kind of I have it mapped out for a year.
Do you have the exact same offers for like people, or do you bespoke stuff?
The offer's the offer. I think it very much changes. Obviously, everybody's person dependent, so everyone has different issues or different beliefs. Or again, the exercise, the plan is the same. Obviously, it just changes to accommodate people.
So what's the offer?
The offer, there's two. Obviously, I have my own app, which is it's always a bit of a flex when you say that. The app's cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
So I've got like it's called the Resilience Program, which is like my online coaching. So that's just where it's just solely like online. You get your onboarding process. Obviously, we'll have like the client consultation, so I'll get to know them inside out, who they want to become, what their training history is like. Again, like food, their lifestyle, relationship with their family, work. So I kind of know what their schedule is inside out. You can make small incremental changes to be able to fit a training program into that. Depending if it's like 2-3 times a week. The nutrition side, again, it's not, you don't want to change people's routines too quick, because again, you want to go from like 0 to 20 rather than 0 to 100, because if you change too much too quick, they ain't going to stick to it. So it's just about making them small incremental changes. So that's the Resilience Program. And then the Ultimate Man Program, which is obviously more catered towards like LinkedIn, because again, like we said about the busy professionals, the offer with them is it's the same, the use of the app, but what we do is I do the biological age test at the start of the journey with me. So you could be 40, but with how stressed you are, your biological age, you're like 50. And the offer that I have with that is that if I work with you for 6 months, if I don't reduce your biological age by 5 years, I'll work with you for free until you do. So it's obviously the whole purpose of that is, if you're a busy, successful guy, what's the one thing that you want back? Time. Because you don't need the money. But again, the flex of that is like, if you've got like one of the like CEO that I'm working with, he's earning about 100 grand a year. So the way that you package it up is, if I could give you 5 more years on this planet, you could either spend that making £500,000 or you spend it with your family. And like the investment level is, in terms of like the return on your investment, you've got 5 more years with your family or 5 more years to make more money. It's a no-brainer, isn't it? So again, it's just like it's like kind of that's the premier package. That's the sexy package, because you're dipping your toe into like the biohacking world then. So yeah.
And given this Black Friday,
yes.
Anything you can offer anyone?
Yeah, it should, I say, depending on it's being launched on Wednesday. I'd like to do again, because it's still like relatively new. I think a lot of people have like kind of wonder about what I do. So I've created like a 6-week coaching program that is going to start on the 6th of January. So it's kind of like invest now, so you can, at the start of the year, you've got something to look towards. Again, like that new year, new me. I'm not a big fan of that, but people, there's exactly. So it's obviously it's a 6-week coaching offer. So you get access to the app, the training, the nutrition, and then it's like the check-in. It's a big, everyone that takes part, it's a big mindset group call every week to basically, I'll talk about a particular topic, have check-ins with everyone, like see how they're doing, and the whole purpose doing it's like they're dipping their toe into what I do. I've got like 5 companies involved as well, so I'll limit it to 30 people max, because otherwise it's going to be, imagine that on a Zoom call, 100 people everywhere. That'd be amazing, but I wouldn't be able to deliver. Like, it's a group, because it's group, you can have more people, but if you get any more than 30, I think it would lose its value, because people won't be seen or heard, or so. And I've got
like a number. Yeah,
exactly that. So it's still personable to a point. I've got companies involved, so the top 3 people we're going to pick, like the best physical transformation, the best like mindset transformation, and then the best overall will get prizes that basically give them their investment back. So that it's kind of like a win-win for them. So
that's to work super hard.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yes,
and they will. That's an incentive for
it. But the I've done it as pretty much as cheap as I could. So what's the price of a Costa now? £5?
It's about £5.
Yeah, isn't it?
About £5.
So this is like the 6 week coaching. It's 150 quid. So it's like £25 a week, which is basically you get a coffee every day.
Same thing.
Yeah,
it's worth it.
Yeah,
so for the price of a coffee a day, you can change your body forever.
Literally what I put on the tagline. So yeah, So that's me. So yeah.
And where can people find you on the socials?
Ultimate Body and Mind. That's my
LinkedIn and Insta.
LinkedIn and Insta, and obviously my personal one is just like James.Roffey. So that's more of the flex one because that's got the followers. So yeah.
Check that one out first.
But I need the coaching one to get bigger as well.
Yeah.
So
the last question I've got to conclude the podcast, I think it'd be a really nice way to conclude. If somebody's listening to this pod that might be going through a bit of a tough time mentally, isn't sure where to start with that fitness journey or mental transformation, what would you advise them other than to message you, of course?
Damn.
That's first.
Yeah. I think the idea would to be, and I know I'm not big on the whole like journaling side of things, but I do know the importance of if you've got crap going on in your head, if you put it out on paper, you're kind of taking it out of your head and you're seeing it from a different point because you're not just thinking about it. It's there in front of you. So I'd write out the things that are your biggest concerns, kind of like list them out, like prioritize them, and then kind of have it in your head who the person you want to be is in 6 months and who the person you want to be in 12 months. And then once you've got that written out, you can kind of like reverse engineer it. So if you want to be this person in 6 months, what are you going to do between now and that period to get there? So it could be, like you said, like there's probably enough information online to be able to have a decent like workout program. And it's just about taking action. I know it's important to talk about. The first thing to do is admit that you're struggling. Probably admit it to yourself and admit it to other people. But I think just as important as the moment you admit it, you've got to take action. Because if you don't, you kind of normalise, I've got a problem, I'm struggling. What are you doing about it? I'm talking about it. That's good, but the longer you talk about it, the more it's just there. You're not doing anything about it. So again, you have to take action. And that action it's just doing something. So it could be, if you've never gone to the gym in your life, go once a week. If you've gone a couple of times a week in the past, do that and just schedule a program and give yourself some time that you can do that. And then every week, just try and implement something new. So if you have a couple of takeaways a week, kick it back to one and replace that meal with something you cook from scratch. So it's just small little things that over time will make massive changes to who you are. And if you're struggling, it's probably a self-confidence thing. And obviously taking action and having an action and then actually sticking to it, you build your confidence back within yourself because you've stuck to a plan, and that's how you start to win back that self-love within yourself. And then it's just a snowball effect.
Nice. I love that.
I love that.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, appreciate it.
It's been a great episode.
4.5 hours down.
Yeah, that's all right. Long journey back now. Yeah.
I love that.
Mate,
Thank you so
sick.
much.
I appreciate it. Yeah, cheers, mate.